You, instead of building up your team with other talent that could play now, that could be ready to help the team in week 1 of the 2020 season, you instead get a backup quarterback who may not be on the field. To waste a second-round pick on a backup player is the most asinine thing I've seen in the draft in recent years from Howie Roseman's regime. It makes no sense. Welcome to the ChadBurn Show, brought to you by M. Chad Baldwin. Welcome to the ChadBurn Show. I am your host, M. ChadBurn, and as always, usually and not here today, running behind the scenes is wonderful, the only Julien Renvoise, our producer. Yay! That's right, folks. Well, we are in for another coronavirus special episode. I am at my home again, as you can see, trying to set up a little bit of an ambiance, a nice background, and get the whole setting going. But the show must go on, and so we're going to continue to do it from here for your guys' entertainment. And this weekend is definitely a doozy of an episode. That's right, the NFL draft occurred on Thursday, starting Thursday, still going into today because we are recording Sunday at 1:42 p.m. If you are an Eagles fan, this has been probably one of the most bizarre drafts to date, given both the need of what we required on our team and both of the crazy thinking of Howie frickin' Roseman. But before we get into the Eagles, because that's going to be obviously the topic of discussion, the special of the day of our conversation, I'm going to first focus in on the actual NFL draft and the setup of it. Because, folks, I got to be honest, it was actually pretty damn cool, I think, the way they did it. We are in an unprecedented time with the coronavirus. It is ways that now sports and leagues and functions need to figure out how to maintain and hold these annual, very important events without being in the same room. And got to hand it to the NFL. They went all in this virtual draft, and they did a freaking good job. Because as much as the production can be very much all the showboating, a lot of graphics, ESPN kind of going over the edge with their stuff, it's still impressive that you still, the commissioner announcing the picks, you were able to have some type of fan involvement, and we were able to see all the coaches and the GMs making the picks, and some swanky situations as well. I think this was a little bit, as much as we had the draft going on, it was also an episode of MTV Cribs, it appeared, where we were going into these coaches' places and being like, welcome to my crib, check out where I do a draft. The winner by far of that draft was Kingsbury, the coach over in Arizona Cardinals, because somehow that guy, with just being a one-year head coach, having a pretty mediocre season, but having all this hype, has probably the nicest, dopest setup I've ever seen for a young coach of money. He has spent his money well, folks. He has figured that shit out for damn sure. But on top of that, it was very well done. I'm glad the commissioner allowed there to be some boos. He still plays along with that. He understands that he is the ire of most fans in this league, but it was nice to see him kind of bring that in. But in general, when it came down to the actual picks, there was nothing that's surprising. Joe Burrow obviously led us off with the first pick, followed by Chase Young. As we run through the top 5, it was, as I said, Chase Young. Then Jeff Okudah went to the Lions, Andrew Thomas to the Giants, and Tua Tagovailoa to the Dolphins. I think, as most people realize, I'm going to stick with just Tua whenever discussing him, because pronouncing the last name will just be an embarrassment for both me and him, so I don't want to do that. But it really kind of went down. I thought maybe the Chargers, there was rumors that the Chargers wanted to trade with the Eagles if they couldn't get Okudah. They then decided to go on with the heir apparent to oh my God, and now blank his name, Phillip Rivers, getting Justin Herbert in there. We also can see Derek Brown was too much surprising pick. Carlos goes Simmons. What really got interesting is when we started seeing the actual wide receivers coming off the board. It was the belief that there would be a run of wide receivers early. However, the first wide receiver was not selected till pick 12, and that was Henry Ruggs III, which I think we all agreed was the most I think the most expected pick to go for teams that needed speed. Henry Ruggs ran the fastest 40 at the combine. He was absolutely incredible. He had a great season at Alabama. I think everyone expected him to either go first or second, the other one being Judy. Judy was the other big pick because he's the more well-rounded wide receiver, not necessarily going to take the top off the defense, but as the big body can get the 50-50 ball and can run almost every route in the route tree. But obviously, the Raiders needed some speed. They went with Ruggs. The second wide receiver didn't go to pick 15 with Judy. This meant that Eagles fans out there who believed they had a shot at CeeDee Lamb, this was happening. It was falling into place. It was the perfect opportunity for Howie Roseman to jump in and take CeeDee Lamb and move up the draft board. Most of us, I think most fans out there, expected there to be a pick at either 15 or 16 with the Broncos or the Falcons. When the Falcons were up, we knew they wanted a cornerback. We didn't think they would reach that high to get A.J. Terrell. There was the hope that Howie could trade. And the rumors were proven true afterwards that Howie was looking to trade, but it was too expensive for him. So because of that, and because the Cowboys and the Cowboy organization and Cowboy Nation and Cowboy people are just spiteful, angry little people who would only seek to anger the Eagles organization and to just try and ruin them at every corner because they haven't had any success in the playoffs and are the last NFC East team to win a championship. They had to go ahead and take the one player the Eagles wanted, and that was CeeDee Lamb. Because Howie couldn't make a move, and the Cowboys, who needed defensive help but decided instead to go offense. Sure, may they want to make their offense more prolific? Why not? I don't see any harm in taking it. And in a lot of ways, I get it. CeeDee Lamb was there. You got to take him at, where would they pick it for the Cowboys? 17. He's there. You got to take him. Understood it. But in a lot of ways, I think they did that just to spite the Eagles so they didn't have to face CeeDee Lamb twice a year. So the Eagles missed out on the wide receiver that we all wanted, the clear, I think, top wide receiver in a lot of people's opinions in this draft if you couldn't get Ruggs or Judy for the speed and for the 50-50 ball. So what do the Eagles have left? Well, the Eagles have left for the fourth wide receiver that everyone kind of expected was the safest pick to add the most receptions in the FBS last year in Justin Jefferson from LSU. But unfortunately, or fortunately, it depends on how you see it, the Eagles decide to take for the 21st pick to fill the wide receiver position that was such an important position to them with Jalen Reagor. Now, I get it. Jalen Reagor might have not had a great 40 time not the top 40 time at the combine. It was still a good time. At this pro day, it was shown that he ran a 4.22 and a 4.27, which in theory would put him above Ruggs, who's 40 from his 40 time at the combine. I understand the Eagles want to put some speed because they can't necessarily rely on the Deshaun Jackson to be there. And what was the number one problem with the wide receiver core last year? Speed. So I understand the priority of putting speed up at the top. But at the same time, you have a disgruntled Alshon Jeffrey who clearly does not want to play for Wentz, who clearly, I think, needs to get a change of scenery for himself and everyone else in the locker room. He's toxic in the locker room. He's leaking information to reporters. And I'm not saying he has to love Wentz. Some people just don't get along. That's okay. It can happen. But to continue with this fallacy, with this belief that they can fix it in the locker room with culture, is just so ignorant and stupid. Why not just move on from him and go get another big body receiver in this draft who is a solid performer in Justin Jefferson? You could have replaced him and get the 50-50 ball, which I think plays better to Wentz's strengths. Wentz has shown that, yes, through practice and a lot of repetition this summer, he can nail that deep ball. We saw him do it to Deshaun Jackson early on in week 1. However, I think his biggest strength is putting the ball up in the tough spots where only his wide receiver can get it, the 50-50 ball. Wentz has proven that he has the arm strength to get there and put in the right spot and has the accuracy to get it done. So why not continue to give him big receivers around to help with that? Jalen Reagor in no means is a bad pick. I just felt that to the system that they're trying to run, that's not the right pick. Jalen Reagor clearly is a stud. I think he is. I mean, everyone's pointing out all the balls that were deemed not catchable that he actually did get. The fact he has the amazing special team speed, the amazing break speed, he can take the top of the defense. I'm all for it. It just is clearly showing how he believes more that he can keep Alshon versus keeping Deshaun Jackson healthy throughout the season. I think, and now you see again, they went speed with Marquise Goodwin doing that trade, which... fine. I mean, Goodwin hasn't really had that greatest season recently. I know he's been dealing with injuries. I know he's been dealing with family trauma in the past. That's kind of been from that breakout season he had. I think it was 2-3 years ago. But in general, over 3 years, he's under 3,000 yards. His production hasn't been great. He does have the speed. He has shown signs of being able to get this done and being a productive wide receiver in the league. But again, you're just continuing to address the issue, so you hope you have speed and you have backup speed throughout the season. Now, because we're talking about how the Eagles were trying to complement and help Wentz on the offense, let's also then go with what happened in the second round. Because this is where the biggest controversy, this is where the biggest fucking bullshit happened in this draft. And I'm saying very harsh language, and I apologize for cursing on this one, but this was the most infuriating pick I have seen. And I know that there are Eagles fans and there are Eagles media that are trying to justify this pick, but this made no sense at all. With a second-round pick in the 21st position in the second round, with the 53 overall pick, the Eagles selected Jalen Hurts, quarterback from Oklahoma. The Eagles decided to waste a high pick because a second-round pick has a lot of value. There is a lot of great talent that comes out of the second round. We could have both combined this with another wide receiver to help out Wentz. What if we picked Mims? Mims went after Hurts. You could have helped him out with some defense, get some linebacker help, maybe get some more cornerback help. Instead, the Eagles go ahead and draft a quarterback. What in the flying fandango is freaking Howie thinking? Howie, in one move, undercut the confidence of Wentz and the starting quarterback that you said starting, which you even said afterwards your press conference. You've proven your actions of your commitment to Wentz. You gave him a $100 million contract, but you undercut his confidence and put competition behind him at all times. Number two, you, instead of building up your team with other talent that could play now, that could be ready to help the team in week 1 of the 2020 season, you instead get a backup quarterback who may not be on the field. To waste a second-round pick on a backup player is the most asinine thing I've seen in the draft in recent years from Howie Roseman's regime. It makes no sense. Everyone else has gone out here and said, and the people that are trying to defend it are saying, well, Wentz gets injury, he gets a lot of injury. Hold on. Wentz has completed the whole season last year, 16 games, and the only reason he was out of that playoff is due to a freak concussion accident. The year before, he took time off because of the back injury when the season they were losing after he tore his ACL. Okay, understood that. The year before that, freak accident in the ACL. His first season, play all the games. So Wentz has actually had productive, and a lot of quarterbacks see maybe 1 or 2 games they miss in a year, but Wentz has shown the ability to get through. Every year he's progressed further along to complete a full season. So this whole notion of him being injury prone is just ridiculous, okay? Yes, he has seen injuries, and I can't deny that. But the fact is, you don't need to put that much money to back up. I know we've seen the production with Foles, but we could have gotten a backup quarterback in the 3rd or 4th round. Okay, it's just not going to happen. You're going to play him right away. A second-round pick should have been used on a wide receiver or a position that you could have entered a player in immediately because there's talent there in the second round. So I understand everyone says you need to have a backup quarterback, but why don't you get that backup in the 3rd or 4th round or even the 5th round? It just makes no sense. Unless Howie is somehow going to trade this player away because he knows there's teams that need it, or there's a team that gets an injury and they make a trade to have that happen, great. But the notion that you're going to make a Taysom Hill out of Jalen Hurts, there's only one team that's been successful with doing that, and that's the Saints because they have Taysom Hill. We've seen Mariota come in for the Wildcat formation. We've seen other teams try and bring in speedy quarterbacks to replicate the Taysom Hills. But we don't know Jalen Hurts could do that. And who is to say that Doug Peterson can be as creative as Sean Payton in this? Doug Peterson has shown to take chances. Doug Peterson has shown to go on 4th down. He did the Philly special, which is the only creative play we've really seen from him. Who's to say that he is now this creative genius that can come up with a 2-quarterback scheme, to have 2 quarterbacks on the field at the same time? Now, I am grateful to hear and glad to hear that they at least advised Wentz before they were taking this pick, but I still don't get it. They're quarterback developers? Then what about Sudfeld? Sudfeld was supposed to be the next big thing to take behind Wentz, was supposed to be the next big quarterback that could help behind Wentz. Why isn't he developed enough? Why are we wasting the second-round capital on a quarterback? It just makes no sense you're doing this. And every message that you said afterwards about being a quarterback developer, having the most and the best position, we're going to do a strategy. Nothing you've done before could prove that that is true. All right? You haven't developed shit. You took a number 2 pick and made him better. Great. You took Foles, who was already in can for a 7-touchdown game under Chip Kelly, who was one of the worst coaches of all time, and were able to string together a couple of very successful and some of his greatest games he ever had. So you didn't really develop him. You put him in the right position. The only quarterback you could ever say you possibly developed would be if Nate Sudfeld proved it. And I haven't seen diddle from that. So out of nowhere, you're telling me now that the Eagles are this great quarterback franchise, this great quarterback training franchise that has figured out a way. You have the best staff to do it. Where is any evidence in that? So unless somehow Jalen Hurts impressed you so much that he could be a receiver or a running back at the same time as Wentz is on the field, this move doesn't fit. And at the same time, if Wentz gets injured, so you're going to put Hurts in there, the first-year quarterback? It doesn't mean that he's ready to go. And now we're going to, and like, look, competition's great. Competition to a true competitor is excellent. It pushes them beyond their limits. There is, of course, the off chance that by having this young quarterback behind him, Wentz works even harder. But I don't think anyone out here, if anyone has a problem with Wentz, and for the people, the Eagles fans that have had issues in the past with having a quarterback like Wentz, can you ever say that the issue you have with him is his work ethic? Can you ever say that he has never trained hard, tried to get better, improve? We've seen every season him make progress at the areas he had weakness. The deep ball, killed it with Deshaun Jackson the first week against the Redskins. So we know that whenever he needs to work on something, he does. He tries to build relationships with his players. He works on getting the ball released quicker. He's had to change his game every year. So there's no reason to say you need someone behind him to push him and motivate him to work harder. All it really does is just divide the locker room again. You're trying to build morale around one leader. You had to get rid of Malcolm Jenkins because you couldn't do a contract, but you then went out in the media and said, it's okay because this is Wentz's locker room. Wentz is the leader of this franchise. Well, you just undercut him doing that. If you want this to be Wentz's team, if you want Wentz to embrace the leadership role, to be the leader of this team, then by going out and drafting a quarterback, you are going completely against that. I just don't understand any of these moves. The only thing that blew my mind was that after that second-round pick, it finally started making sense the way the Eagles started drafting. The Eagles take Jalen Hurts. The next pick the Eagles take was at the end of the third round, and they get Davion Taylor, a linebacker. Finally, a linebacker. That's who they actually needed. They also then end up getting a cornerback. They end up getting a lot of positions they needed, but instead of going earlier and taking those positions, instead of going earlier in the second round and getting a solid linebacker, getting a solid safety, or getting even help on the line, or just getting another wide receiver. I mean, Mims was there. Imagine if we had gone out of the first 2 rounds with 2 studs, speedy wide receivers. What's wrong with that? Again, Howie, using your own words. If the Eagles are a quarterback developing team, then there is no need to draft a quarterback. If the Eagles are so great at grooming the next big quarterback from just a late round pick, then Nate Sudfeld is enough as your backup. Or you go later and you get a quarterback in the 4th round, in the 5th round, maybe the 6th, and you develop him as you say you're so great at. But as always, we don't know what's going on in this front office. We hear one thing, we see another. It is absolutely mind-boggling. And Howie Roseman needs to get a plan because he is overthinking all these picks. If Howie Roseman just goes with the best talent on the board for the positions he needs, he would have done better. Instead, they always have to overthink this. They always have to try and make it so much bigger than it is, trying to be the next great innovator. You know who also thought he was the next great innovator? Chip Kelly. Do you see how well that worked out? Yeah, he's gone and no longer a coach in the NFL. So if the Eagles could just stick to a formula that works, which is getting a powerful offense in all the positions, making sure we're balanced, making sure our defense can go back to being the number 1 rush-stopping defense during our Super Bowl run, could possibly be able to stop a pass at all, that's what we need to do. None of this creative or like trying to find a new way, innovating the NFL bullshit. I was so mad with how this draft turned out. I cannot believe that Howie Roseman is allowed to do this. It is absolutely criminal to this organization the way he's organizing it. I don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to trade Wentz now? Does that mean that Does that mean Sudfeld is absolutely gone, expendable? And then, of course, Oh, as far as we know, Howie might just be waiting for a quarterback to get injured, and he's just going to ship off Jalen Hurts. He could maybe ship off Wentz. We don't know right now. There doesn't seem to be a clear path for this organization, this team. Again, you saw the Packers pick Jordan Love as a backup early with an Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers is late, though. He's 33 years old. Wentz is 27. So the fact is, I think what Howie did is exactly what, unfortunately, Donovan McNabb said. Because, of course, Don McNabb had to give an opinion, because Don McNabb cannot be happy with us just moving on with him. He cannot go into the sunset. He's not like Westbrook. He's not like Dawkins. He can't just show support. He has to criticize because he got criticized so much, and he has a hurt ego. So, of course, he comes out and says that by the Eagles drafting the second round, what they're saying is they don't trust Wentz to be healthy. And I totally agree. For once, I totally agree with Donovan. Donovan McNabb has hit the nail right on the head. Howie Roseman is undercutting both the confidence and the security of the job for Wentz. And Wentz now has to play every day for a job. And I'm not against that, but at one point, you have to create a culture in the locker room that revolves around a leader. The Seahawks got rid of a lot of players because they needed the locker room to be revolved around Russell Wilson to give it the strength to him and have everyone have confidence in their quarterback. And what happened? They turned around and had a great season last year, went deep in playoffs and beat us. That was for sure. Every locker room needs to be cohesive and not have divides. And what you just did, Howie Roseman, is throw a grenade in the controversy bucket. You just allowed every reporter to nitpick every move of that locker room of this offseason. The second Wentz struggles at all, there will be a call to put Jalen Hurts in. Because in Philadelphia, the fan base will never be content. They will always look for the next step. They will always look for greener pastures and for a brighter edge. If one player struggles, there will be a call to see another player come in. And you just started this whole horrible chaos that will occur throughout this season. Now, hopefully, Wentz can play beautifully and we win a ton of games. But if not, we're going to hear it all day, every day. Why don't we put in Hurts? What's Hurts like? We haven't seen Hurts play. Maybe Wentz isn't gotten. Maybe Wentz isn't the same from his injury. Maybe he won't be able to make that run. It's a real shame. And you're playing with a kid's psyche right now. Through all this other bullshit in the world happening, this is what you're doing. Howie Roseman, man. If you haven't tell, I don't even need to write a ChadBurn. You've been ChadBurn because I am so fed up with how this is being done. And here's the deal. This will be recorded. It's being broadcasted. It's being saved, right? So this will be saved for perpetuity. Maybe Jalen Hurts is the next Taysom Hill. And I'm going to eat my words this season. And every play the Eagles do through the entire season is going to be incredible. And it's going to be creative and innovative. And all of a sudden we have two quarterbacks on the field at the same time. And it's the most dynamic offense we've ever seen. Maybe. And if it does, great. I would be thrilled for that to happen. Unfortunately, I don't see it happening. All I see is now a dysfunctional locker room and a dysfunctional offense. And Doug Peterson trying something different that he's not ready to incorporate. That's all I see. Howie Roseman is playing fantasy football right now, and he's not playing like we're used to him. I know he likes to wheel and deal. I know he likes to make trades. This one baffles me. And hopefully in the next few weeks, we actually see a direction that they're trying to make with this, but I just don't know what's going on. The picks afterward were so much better. Linebacker, Kevon Wallace at safety. The Eagles made sense later in the freaking draft. Jack Driscoll, offensive lineman. It's just why wasn't that strategy implemented early on? I hope Jalen Reagor's an absolute stud because there needs to be some redemption in this draft. There has to be something come out of this that is successful and exciting. Because right now, I'm just worried, nervous, and pissed. I can't believe it. Not to mention having to see CeeDee Lamb go off the board to the Cowboys. We're going to have to face that. Right now, everyone, Cowboys are the favorite of the NFC East. Until the Eagles can prove that they can make all this talent work together and they can somehow come together with the most ingenious offense we've seen in years, then the Cowboys got this through and through. I hope for the best. Well, that's it, folks. I wanted to give my initial after-draft thoughts. wanted to do a little ranting and raving for you. I hope it made sense. All I need to do is get that off my chest. I was just infuriated after these last few days, so I had to share that. I know this will be airing Monday, so maybe we'll see more coming out of this draft out of Sunday. And, there'll be even maybe more controversy or more clarity from the Eagles franchise. But for now, we don't have that, and I'm just going to be pissed. And I can't wait till people comment on this going, Wentz has never been in a complete season. We need backup to Wentz. Whoa, Wentz isn't that good. Yeah, okay. Compare Wentz's stats to all the quarterbacks that have started for Eagles in the last decade. All right? Foles can't even sniff the stats that Carson had, and Foles had a 7-game touchdown, okay? Wentz is averaging over 3,400 yards a season as quarterback, and he's missed games. He has barely played the same amount of games as Dak Prescott. He is so much less, and his stats are the same as Dak Prescott on the Cowboys. Okay, and that's the quarterback he gets compared to. It's not even close to the talent level what Carson Wentz has in this league, and people need to figure that out. I get it. If he gets more injured and we're not going to rely on him, then yes, we need to move on. But to do that this early, after giving that big contract, after seeing him make it through that last season and actually will that team across the line with no wide receivers over 500 yards and actually get in the playoffs, yes, he got knocked out by a concussion, but that's a freak accident. And I can't hold that against him because his body held up. Nothing can stop against a head injury. That doesn't mean injury prone. Man, why couldn't they just got a quarterback late in the round? I mean, it just makes zero sense to get a quarterback that early. God damn. Absolutely infuriating. I'm trying to see what was the next quarterback that went following Jalen Hurts. Jacob Eason out of Washington in round 4. Hell, if you're a quarterback developer, Howie, why couldn't you have developed him? There we go. Jets took James Morgan from Florida Atlantic. Why couldn't you have developed him? You know why? Because you can't. You need someone who actually has talent. That's why you're getting Jalen Hurts to make you look good when all this happens. Absolutely insane. Ugh. Oh, well. Let's hope for the best, folks. Until this coronavirus is lifted and we actually get football season, let's just hope for the best. Anyway, I'm going to close it off there, folks. We've had a great time together with this one, talking draft, talking reaction, talking how angry we are. Looking forward to the comments on how people think I'm overreacting. Either way. I hope everyone's staying healthy and safe and that through all this, you're able to find closeness with those around you. You're able to, get a rhythm that's not making you go crazy, or at least be able to get outside and breathe from fresh air. Enjoy the sports we have, whether it be the draft, whether it be reruns of it, whether it be The Last Dance. We'll be talking more about that as the days go on with Michael Jordan and his incredible career. But mainly, I just hope you're all being safe, healthy, and happy. And we're going to get through this. And soon, everything's going to get back to normal. We're going to have football. We're going to be able to cheer. We're going to be yell at Howie outside. So as always, thank you for joining and listening in. Thank you for listening to the show. As always, if you have any questions or like to reach out, you can email me at chadburn.show@gmail.com. Again, that is chadburn.show@gmail.com. You can also follow on Instagram to keep up with updates, clips from the show, everything that's happening for the ChadBurn show. That's always available. And then you can subscribe to us on YouTube to check out the video components of these episodes. As always, we're on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening to your podcast, you can get the ChadBurn show. Subscribe to us, keep up to date, and we'll continue to provide good content for you. I want to thank you for listening in. And as always, have a good evening and good night.